Figs and eye health share a story far older and far richer than most people ever imagine. Over the next half hour, you will see several simple and affordable ways to combine figs with familiar everyday ingredients, while we explore what this ancient fruit offers to your vision, the quiet plant compounds tucked inside its soft flesh, its long place in traditional kitchens, and the easiest ways to fold it into a practical daily routine. This is a collection of useful ideas, honest nutrition, and small kitchen habits that anyone can follow. So let us begin with something surprising about a fruit that seems, at first glance, almost too humble to matter for something as precious as sight. Consider this. The fig is one of the oldest cultivated fruits known to humankind. Long before sugar was refined, long before modern orchards, people were already growing figs, drying them in the sun, and carrying them across deserts and mountains as a compact source of energy and sweetness. Archaeological traces of cultivated figs reach back thousands of years, placing this fruit among the very first that human hands ever tended on purpose. A small, unassuming fruit, and yet it stands near the beginning of the entire human story of farming. Already there is a beautiful contrast here, one tiny fruit carrying centuries of history, and, as we will see, a genuine role in the daily nutrition that supports healthy eyes. Now here is a detail that changes the way you look at a fig forever. What we call the fruit is not truly a fruit in the ordinary sense at all. A fig is closer to a cluster of tiny flowers turned gently inward, blooming quietly inside a soft, closed pouch. When you bite into a ripe fig and notice that delicate, seed-flecked interior, you are tasting a hidden garden of blossoms that never opened to the outside world. This is one of the classic wonders of the plant kingdom, and it hints at why figs carry such a rich mix of natural compounds, a closed flower, ripening in secret, storing sunlight and minerals in a form your body can actually use. Where did this remarkable fruit come from? The fig traces its roots to the warm lands of the Mediterranean and Western Asia, where it thrived under long, sun-soaked summers. From those early groves, it traveled outward along ancient trade routes, carried by merchants, travelers, and settlers, who valued it for one practical reason above all. A fig could be dried and kept. Sweet, portable, and slow to spoil, dried figs became one of the great travel foods of the Old World, sustaining people on long journeys across regions where fresh fruit was a distant memory. In this single fruit, you can taste both a place and a history, a warm southern origin and a long human habit of carrying sweetness across great distances. So let us turn to the central promise. Why do figs deserve a place in a conversation about eyesight and vision? The honest answer is layered, and that is exactly what makes it worth understanding properly. Figs are not a single magic bullet for the eyes, and any food that claims to be one deserves gentle suspicion. Instead, figs offer a thoughtful bundle of nutrients that support the wider systems your eyes quietly depend on every single day. To see how, we need to look at the eye itself and treat it, for a moment, like the extraordinary living instrument it truly is. Picture the eye as a living camera, one that never stops working from the moment you wake. Light passes through the clear front window, the cornea, then through the lens, and finally lands on a delicate, light-sensitive screen at the back called the retina. That screen is astonishingly thin, thinner than a sheet of paper, and packed with cells that turn light into the signals your brain reads as the world. These tissues work constantly, and constant work creates a steady stream of tiny stresses inside the cells. This is where colorful plant foods, figs among them, begin to matter. They supply the raw material and the protective compounds that help the body maintain these fragile, hard-working tissues over a lifetime. Let us look a little closer at that living camera, because each part carries its own quiet needs. The cornea, the clear dome at the very front, must stay smooth and perfectly transparent to let light pass cleanly, and a healthy film of tears keeps its surface moist and bright. Behind it, the retina performs one of the most energy-hungry jobs in the entire body, converting streams of light into signals without pause during every waking hour. Work on that scale naturally produces oxidative stress, a kind of internal friction that colorful, antioxidant-rich foods help the body manage. This is precisely why a plate full of natural pigments matters so much for vision, and why figs, with their deeply colored skins, earn a place at that table. Inside figs, you will find a mix of natural pigments and antioxidant compounds, especially concentrated in the skin, which is why the darker purple varieties carry such a deep, jewel-like color. Those pigments are not just decoration. They belong to the same broad family of plant compounds that help the body manage everyday oxidative stress, the slow wear and tear that all living tissue faces, including the sensitive cells of the retina. Eat the fig with its skin, and you gain far more of this protective color than you would from the pale flesh alone. Here is the first, small, practical habit worth remembering. Whenever the skin is tender and clean, keep it on. That thin, colorful layer is one of the most valuable parts of the whole fruit. Figs also supply a modest but genuine amount of the carotenoids and the eye-friendly pigments known as lutein and zeaxanthin. These two names deserve special attention because they play a remarkable role in the human eye. Lutein and zeaxanthin gather in the very center of the retina, in a small yellow spot called the macula, the part responsible for your sharpest, most detailed vision. There, they act almost like a pair of natural, internal sunglasses, helping to filter a portion of intense blue light and cushioning those precious cells against daily glare. Your body cannot make these pigments on its own. They arrive entirely through food. And so every colorful plate, every mix of fruits and leaves and roots becomes a quiet contribution to that inner protective layer. Now, figs alone will not flood your eyes with these pigments. That is simply not how nutrition works, and honesty matters more than hype. The real power comes from figs joining a colorful, varied table. This is where a simple idea becomes genuinely useful. Think of a small bowl of ripe figs, torn open and layered over plain yogurt or cooked oats, with a scattering of walnuts and a single teaspoon of cold flaxseed oil stirred through at the end. The gentle fat in that flaxseed oil and in the walnuts helps your body absorb the fat-soluble pigments from the whole meal, because carotenoids, lutein, and zeaxanthin travel best in the company of a little fat. That is a small, elegant piece of kitchen science. Pair colorful plants with a touch of good fat, and the body welcomes their pigments more readily. Let us pause on flaxseed oil for a moment, because it earns its place here. A modest amount, roughly 1 teaspoon, stirred cold into a finished bowl or blended drink, adds a soft, nutty background and that helpful dose of fat. It works best unheated, added at the very end, so its delicate character stays intact. There is no need for more than a teaspoon or two in a serving. This is seasoning, not a main event, a quiet helper that lets the pigments in figs and other colorful foods do their work. Here, the story grows even more interesting, because the way you use a fig changes what it offers. A fresh fig and a dried fig are almost like two different foods wearing the same name. Fresh figs are soft, fragrant, and high in water, gentle and cooling, wonderful eaten simply on their own. Dried figs, on the other hand, are concentrated. As the water leaves, the minerals, the fiber, and the natural sugars all draw closer together. So a single dried fig delivers a denser package of nutrition and a denser hit of sweetness than its fresh cousin. Knowing this difference lets you choose with intention rather than habit. Consider a simple way to enjoy dried figs that many households have used for generations. Take 2 or 3 dried figs and let them rest overnight in a small cup of clean, cool water, enough to just cover them. By morning, they turn plump, tender, and beautifully soft, and the water around them carries a faint, natural sweetness and some of their soluble compounds. You can eat the softened figs and sip that gentle infusion alongside a light breakfast. It is an easy, inexpensive habit, kind to digestion, and a calm way to begin the day. Soaking also softens the natural sugars into a smoother experience, which many people find more comfortable than eating dried figs straight from the packet. Now, why does fiber keep appearing in a conversation about eyes? The connection is indirect, and it is worth explaining clearly rather than pretending it is dramatic. Figs are genuinely rich in fiber, both the soft, soluble kind and the more structural kind. Fiber supports steady digestion and helps the body handle natural sugars more gently, keeping the rise in blood sugar calmer and more even. Over the long span of a life, steady, balanced blood sugar, is one of the quiet guardians of healthy blood vessels, and your eyes are fed by some of the tiniest, most delicate blood vessels in the entire body. So the fiber in figs supports vision the way strong foundations support a house, not by being visible, but by keeping everything else stable underneath. This is a good moment to notice a natural pairing that supports the eyes with real strength. Figs bring their fiber, their gentle sweetness, and their pigments, and a bright orange root like carrot brings a generous supply of beta-carotene, one of the most celebrated of all the plant compounds linked to vision. Beta-carotene is a building block. Inside the body, it can be converted into vitamin A, and vitamin A sits at the heart of how the eye responds to light, especially in dim surroundings. When figs share a bowl or a blended drink with carrot, you get soft sweetness meeting earthy, carotene-rich color, a genuinely eye-friendly combination that is also easy on any budget. Let us stay with vitamin A a little longer, because its role in vision is one of the most beautiful facts in all of nutrition. Deep inside the retina, vitamin A becomes part of a light-sensitive pigment that lets your eyes adjust when you step from bright daylight into a dim room. That momentary blindness, followed by your vision slowly returning in the shadows, depends on this quiet chemistry. Foods rich in beta-carotene keep that system supplied. Figs offer a modest amount, and companions like carrot, pumpkin, and other deep orange plants offer a great deal more. Together, across a varied week of meals, they help keep this remarkable adaptation working smoothly. A humble bowl of everyday food, connected to one of the most delicate processes your body performs in the dark. Pumpkin deserves a brief mention here too, because it belongs to the same golden, carotene-rich family. A soft blend of ripe fig with cooked or raw pumpkin creates a naturally sweet, velvety drink or puree that carries both the fig's gentle minerals and the pumpkin's generous orange pigments. A tiny piece of fresh ginger grated into that blend adds warmth and a lively aroma without a single added sweetener. It is a comforting preparation for a cooler morning, and it quietly stacks eye-supporting color into one simple cup. Now the story turns towards something many people forget. Your eyes are not fed by nutrients alone. They are fed by water. The surface of the eye needs steady moisture, and the whole visual system depends on healthy hydration and good circulation to carry nutrients where they are needed. Fresh figs are naturally high in water, which makes them a gently hydrating snack. And this is one more reason they fit so well into eye-supporting nutrition. It also points to a simple rule of comfort. Whenever you enjoy a concentrated fig preparation, especially a dried fig drink or a sweet blend, keep a glass of plain water nearby and sip it separately. This is not about rules. It simply keeps the whole experience light and balanced. Let us make another easy preparation that many people love. Blend 2 or 3 ripe fresh figs with half a ripe banana and a cup of plain nut milk until smooth. The banana brings creaminess and a mellow sweetness. The nut milk brings a soft, mild base, and the figs bring their pigments, minerals, and that characteristic honeyed depth. Add a small handful of walnuts before blending, or scatter them on top, and you introduce a little natural fat that, once again, helps the body take up the fat-soluble pigments from the whole drink. It is a filling, affordable breakfast in a glass, and it treats the eyes kindly through balanced, colorful nutrition rather than any single miracle nutrient. Figs also quietly supply a set of minerals that support the wider systems your eyes depend upon. They are a genuine source of potassium, which helps the body maintain healthy fluid balance and steady circulation, and they offer useful amounts of magnesium and calcium as well. Why does circulation matter for sight? Because the retina is nourished by a network of extraordinarily fine blood vessels, some of the smallest in the whole body, and their steady flow keeps those light-sensitive cells supplied with oxygen and nourishment. Foods that support calm, healthy circulation are therefore quietly working in the eye's favor. The mineral gift of figs is modest and gentle, yet it fits neatly into this larger, unglamorous, deeply important picture of keeping delicate tissues well fed. Here is a small but memorable number to hold on to. A single fresh fig is mostly water and gentle sugars, yet a spoonful of the seeds and skin inside it carries a surprising density of the very pigments and fiber we have been discussing. It is a lovely reminder that value in food often hides in the smallest, least glamorous parts: the seeds, the skin, the soft interior we might be tempted to overlook. With figs, almost the whole fruit is worth eating, and that generosity is part of their charm. Since we are speaking of color, let us celebrate the deep, dark tones that many figs and berries share. A blend of ripe figs with a handful of blueberries, raspberries, and even a few tart red currants creates a preparation glowing with rich purple and crimson pigments. Those pigments, the anthocyanins, are among the plant compounds most often connected in traditional food wisdom with the eyes and with healthy circulation. Berries and dark figs are natural partners in both flavor and color, sweet meeting tart, soft meeting bright. A small bowl of this mixture, eaten slowly, is a genuine feast of the very pigments that colorful eating is all about. And here, a gentle piece of honesty belongs. Traditional beliefs have long linked dark berries and richly colored fruits with keen eyesight, and there is real charm in that inherited wisdom. Modern understanding refines the picture rather than erasing it. These fruits do supply antioxidant pigments that support the body's daily maintenance of delicate tissues, and that is meaningful. What they do not do is replace the care of proper rest, protection from harsh glare, and a genuinely varied diet. The traditional explanation is beautiful. The modern explanation adds an even deeper and more accurate layer. Both, together, point in the same sensible direction: eat colorfully and eat consistently. Let us talk about choosing figs well, because a good fig begins at the market. A ripe, fresh fig should feel soft and yielding to a gentle touch, with a slight give, never hard and never collapsing into mush. The skin should look full and unbroken, and a truly ripe fig often carries a faint, honeyed sweetness in its aroma near the stem. A small drop of nectar at the base is a sign of ripeness rather than a flaw. Fresh figs are among the more delicate fruits in any market, so handle them softly and choose the ones that seem most fragrant and plump. Dried figs, by contrast, should feel pliable rather than brittle, still soft enough to fold gently. Storage is where fresh and dried figs part ways completely. Fresh figs are wonderfully perishable, a quality that speaks to how natural and unprocessed they are. They are happiest eaten within a couple of days, kept cool in the refrigerator, spread in a single layer so their tender skins are not crushed. Dried figs are the opposite, patient and long-lasting. Kept in a sealed container in a cool, dark place, they hold their quality for many months, which is exactly why they were such a treasured travel food across the ancient world. This contrast gives you a practical strategy. Enjoy fresh figs quickly, in their fleeting season, and keep dried figs on hand year-round for the days when fresh ones are out of reach. And here is a small detail that changes how you handle them. A fig, once picked, ripens very little further, so choosing well at the market truly matters. And a fig that arrives already soft and fragrant is best enjoyed soon rather than left waiting on the counter. If you ever find yourself with more ripe figs than you can eat in time, there is a simple rescue. Lay them whole on a tray, freeze them until firm, and then keep them sealed in the freezer, where they hold beautifully for months. Frozen figs, slightly thawed, blend into a naturally sweet, ice-cold drink in moments. Nothing is wasted, and the season stretches a little longer. The most useful kitchen wisdom is often the simplest, and this is one of the simplest of all. Washing figs is refreshingly simple. A gentle rinse under cool running water, cradling the fruit softly in your hand, is all that a ripe fig needs. Their tender skins do not call for scrubbing or soaking, only a quick, careful rinse to freshen the surface just before eating. Treat this as an easy, everyday habit rather than a chore, a small moment of care that keeps your food clean and pleasant. Firmer produce that shares the bowl, like carrots, benefits from a light pass with a clean vegetable brush under running water, but the fig asks only for a soft touch. Now let us weave figs into something savory, because they are far more versatile than their sweetness suggests. Tear 2 or 3 fresh figs over a plate of tender leafy greens, add a scatter of chopped walnuts, and dress it all with a spoonful of cold flaxseed oil and a squeeze of citrus. The figs bring soft sweetness that balances the slight bitterness of the greens, And the leaves themselves are quietly one of the best foods for the eyes. Dark leafy greens are especially rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, those macular pigments we spoke of earlier. And the flaxseed oil helps your body carry them inward. Sweet fig, bitter leaf, nutty oil. This is a bowl built for both pleasure and vision. Spinach, in particular, is a treasure among leafy greens for eye-supporting nutrition, holding some of the most generous natural amounts of lutein and zeaxanthin found on any ordinary plate. A handful of tender spinach with soft figs and a ripe stone fruit like nectarine creates a preparation that is both refreshing and quietly powerful, pairing the fig's minerals and pigments with the leaf's concentrated eye pigments. It is a reminder that the humble fig shines brightest as a member of a team, lifting and sweetening the very foods that carry vision-friendly nutrients in abundance. Let us return to sweetness, but in a clever, useful form. Ripe figs, fresh or soaked, can be mashed into a smooth, natural spread. A simple fig puree with nothing added at all. Warm it gently if you like, and it becomes a soft paste to spread on bread or stir into plain yogurt or porridge. A way to sweeten food naturally while carrying along the fig's fiber and minerals instead of empty sugar. A little of this paste keeps well in the refrigerator for a few days in a covered jar. It is a beautiful example of how a whole food can replace refined sweetness while still giving the body something genuinely nourishing in return. There is a traditional rhythm worth borrowing from the sunlit regions where figs have always grown. In many such kitchens, figs appear at the morning table beside simple, wholesome companions. A little yogurt, a scatter of nuts, a handful of seeds, a piece of good bread. This is not a strict recipe, but a gentle pattern, and it happens to be a genuinely wise one. Pairing the fig's natural sweetness with protein and fat from nuts and yogurt turns a quick bite into a steady, satisfying start to the day, one that keeps energy even and hunger calm. Borrowing this simple habit costs almost nothing, and it folds figs into your routine in the most effortless way imaginable, as a natural, everyday part of breakfast. This brings us to an important and honest contrast: whole figs versus fig juice or heavily blended drinks. When you eat a fig whole, you receive everything: the skin, the seeds, the soft flesh, and crucially, all of the fiber, which slows the release of the natural sugars and keeps the experience gentle. When figs are pressed or blended into a thin, concentrated liquid, the flavor and some nutrients become wonderfully convenient, but much of the calming fiber is left behind, and the natural sugars arrive more quickly. Neither form is wrong. The wisdom is simply to favor whole and softly blended figs most of the time, to keep portions modest, and to enjoy very concentrated fig drinks as an occasional treat rather than a daily flood. Diluting a strong, sweet fig blend with a little water is a small trick that makes it lighter and easier on the body. Let us build another gentle, colorful preparation that leans into vitamin C. A soft blend of ripe fig with segments of sweet orange and a spoonful of tender persimmon creates a bright, sunny drink rich in flavor and glowing color. Oranges and other citrus bring generous vitamin C, a nutrient that supports the health of the tiny blood vessels and connective tissues throughout the body, including within the eye, and that helps the body defend its cells against everyday oxidative stress. Persimmon adds its own soft carotene-rich color. Fig, orange, persimmon, sweetness and brightness together, a genuinely eye-friendly trio that costs very little and pleases almost everyone. A quick word on persimmon and figs, since they share a season and a soft honeyed character. Both turn beautifully tender when fully ripe, and a simple mash of ripe fig with ripe persimmon and a little banana makes a naturally sweet, spoonable treat that needs nothing else. It is smooth, gentle on digestion, and a lovely way to end a light meal. The shared warmth of their colors is also a shared richness in protective pigments, a small everyday luxury that supports the body's quiet work. Kiwi is another friend worth naming here. A blend of ripe fig with sliced kiwi and a handful of blueberries brings together 3 different families of protective plant compounds in one cup: the fig's dark skin pigments, the kiwi's bright vitamin C, and the blueberry's deep anthocyanins. It is tart, sweet, and vivid, and it embodies the single most important lesson in all of eye-supporting nutrition: variety. no one fruit does everything. A changing rotation of colorful foods does far more for your eyes than any single food eaten alone, however celebrated. So when people ask about figs for eyesight or search for natural foods for eye health, the truest answer is both humble and hopeful. Figs will not transform vision on their own, and they were never meant to. What they offer is real and worth having: gentle hydration, protective pigments, steadying fiber, supportive minerals, and a sweetness so pleasant that it makes colorful, eye-friendly eating something to look forward to rather than a duty. In a world crowded with expensive promises, there is quiet strength in an affordable fruit that simply does honest, ordinary good, meal after meal, as part of a varied and thoughtful diet. That is the real story of figs and eye health, and it is a story you can begin acting on today. Let us talk honestly about how much and how often, because sensible amounts matter more than enthusiasm. For most people, a comfortable serving of fresh figs is around 2 to 4 fruits, and a serving of dried figs is smaller, perhaps 2 or 3, since they are so concentrated in sugar and minerals. Figs fit beautifully into the earlier part of the day, at breakfast or as a mid-morning snack, when their natural sweetness gives a pleasant lift of energy. They pair especially well with foods that carry a little protein or fat, like yogurt, nuts, or seeds, which softens the rise in blood sugar and keeps you satisfied for longer. A moderate portion, most days, woven into varied meals, creates the most balanced and comfortable rhythm. For anyone with a sensitive stomach, figs offer a naturally gentle path. Soaking dried figs, as we described, softens them considerably. Choosing fully ripe fresh figs, eating them slowly, and pairing them with other foods rather than on an empty stomach all make them easier to enjoy. Because figs are rich in fiber, introducing them gradually rather than in a sudden large amount lets the body adjust in comfort. Small, steady, and consistent is the friendliest approach, and it is also the approach most likely to become a lasting habit. Now, let us step back and admire the bigger picture. The way this one ancient fruit connects soil, sunlight, human history, and the delicate machinery of vision. A fig tree draws minerals from the earth and energy from the sun, folds them into a soft pouch of hidden flowers, and offers you a food that has nourished people for thousands of years. When you eat it, those same minerals and pigments become raw material for your body's quiet, daily maintenance, including the upkeep of the tissues that let you see this world at all. There is something deeply satisfying in that unbroken thread, from ancient orchard to modern kitchen to the light-sensitive screen at the back of your own eye. It is worth repeating gently that figs are one voice in a larger chorus, not a solo performance. The benefits of figs for eye health come from what they contribute to a varied, colorful, balanced way of eating. Their pigments, their fiber, their hydration, their modest carotenoids and eye-friendly compounds, all working alongside the carrots, the leafy greens, the berries, and the bright citrus that round out a thoughtful plate. Figs make that plate sweeter, richer, and more enjoyable. And enjoyment is what turns a good intention into a habit that actually lasts. Let us gather the most useful ideas into a simple, everyday shape you can carry with you. On an ordinary morning, a small bowl of ripe fresh figs with their skins, torn over plain yogurt or oats, scattered with walnuts, and finished with a single teaspoon of cold flaxseed oil gives you sweetness, fiber, gentle fat, and a bundle of protective pigments in one easy dish. On a busier day, 2 or 3 dried figs, soaked overnight in a little water, make a soft, ready snack, with the sweetened, soaking water to sip alongside. And whenever you want something colorful and vivid, a soft blend of figs with a bright partner, carrot for beta-carotene, berries for anthocyanins, orange for vitamin C, or tender greens for lutein and zeaxanthin, turns a plain cup into a genuinely eye-friendly pleasure. Keep the guiding principles simple. Favor whole and lightly blended figs over heavily concentrated juice, so you keep the calming fiber. Enjoy fresh figs quickly in their short season, and keep dried figs on hand the rest of the year. Store fresh figs cool and unbruised for a couple of days, and dried figs sealed in a cool, dark place for months. Pair figs with a little good fat, like walnuts or a teaspoon of flaxseed oil, to help your body absorb the fat-soluble pigments from the whole meal. And above all, Let figs join a rotation of many colors rather than standing alone, because variety is the truest secret of nutrition for the eyes. There is a quiet elegance in all of this. A fruit so old that it helped begin the human story of farming turns out to fit gracefully into one of the most modern conversations we can have about caring for our vision. It asks for no special equipment, no rare ingredients, and no great expense. Only a knife, a bowl, a little water, and the willingness to eat with color and intention. That accessibility is part of the fig's gift. Genuine nourishment has always lived in simple, affordable foods, patiently waiting to be used well. Before we close, hold on to one comforting thought. None of this asks for perfection. You do not need every colorful food on every plate, or a flawless routine followed without fail. You need only a gentle, repeated habit. A few figs here, a handful of greens there, a bright berry blend on a pleasant afternoon. Small choices, made kindly and often, add up over months and years into the steady nourishment that delicate tissues quietly depend on. That is the real art of eating for your eyes, and the fig makes it a genuine pleasure rather than a chore. So let the fig take its rightful place, soft, fragrant, and deeply colored, on your table and in your routine. Feel the give of a ripe one. Notice the honeyed sweetness and the hidden garden of tiny blossoms within. And remember the long journey it has taken from ancient sun-warmed orchards to your hands. Whether eaten whole, soaked soft, folded into a savory salad of leaves, or blended into a bright and colorful cup, the fig offers freshness, nourishment, history, and a quiet contribution to the delicate work of sight. Thoughtful nutrition, made of small and beautiful choices like this one, supports not only the eyes but the whole body, day after gentle day. And a fruit this humble, this affordable, and this generous is a wonderful place for that kind of care to begin.